Hello and welcome to Pop Screen, the podcast that just bought some of Steely Dan's old equipment, for the really vintage Valve sound. We are that corner of the Geek Show that likes to look at the good, the bad, and the preposterous of movies either by, starring, or about pop stars. The podcast covers a broad range of musical and cinematic genres, from country and western to hip-hop, from documentaries to loosely Thomas Pynchon-inspired blockbuster freakouts. I'm Graham Williamson. I'm your host. I'm a filmmaker and regular writer for The Geek Show, Byline Times, and other outlets, and I've been joined by
Simon Ramshaw, coming at you from The Geek Show as well, and Eastern Kicks.
Indeed.
And that's kind of it at the minute. But yes, those two, definitely.
Film stories? You just had something in film stories, I
This
understand?
is true. This is true. It is going to come into print. I've not yet got the issue yet, or it might be in the next issue for all I know. But
Okay.
Let's see. So yeah, I didn't want to say that just in case I jinxed it, but thanks for jinxing that one, Graham. Yeah, cheers.
Well, we are talking about something that I think we normally save this for Patreon shows as a little enticement to get in, but this is too big to ignore. This is that rare current release where I feel like if I don't do a podcast about it, I will be banished from the brotherhood of white guys who do movie podcasts. And it is one battle after another.
Indeed, it is. Are you a fan of One Battle After Another, Graham? Did you say that you were a fan?
Well, yeah, I went to see it on the weekend it came out, and I really enjoyed it. I watched it again in preparation for, this podcast, and I really fell in love with it. I think the first time I was slightly clouded by, all the hype about it being the film of the year. No, it's the film of the decade. No, the film of the millennium. It's like, all right, Ehrlich, keep your hair on. And then I wanted to see it again just as a matter of course, but also I wanted to see it again to see what it was like a second time and to see how it measured up to the sort of weight of discourse that it inspired, to see what the actual film underneath all of the chatter was actually like. And I think, it's even better than I thought it was first time around.
Same here. I've seen it twice as well. First time in IMAX. So
Same.
I got the full body kind of impact of the sensation of going up and down in those hills.
Can I just say, I got the secret cinema extended experience of that, 'cause when I was on the driving home on the way back, someone braked really hard in front of me.
Yeah, that's 4D for you, baby. Very nice. And then I saw it in the Dolby, so with about 26% less image, but just as clear, if not clearer, sound system. And the second watch, I had a smile on my face the whole time the first time, but it was a smile and a couple of tears welling up in places. What are we saying it's about, though? Because I've been recommending it, obviously, to a lot of people that I know of, like, kind of going, oh, yeah, it's the new Leonardo DiCaprio film, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of it's got a lot more under the hood than that.
Yes.
And I've never really known where to start.
I feel like Warner Brothers marketing department would agree heartily with you here, because I remember, I remember thinking before this was released that every trailer and TV spot for it made it look good, but also every trailer and TV spot for it made it look like a different good movie to the last one. But yeah, at its heart, this is about the relationship between Bob and Willa, and those are not their real names. They are former members of a far left revolutionary cell, the French 75, who have splintered, who've been attacked, and their numbers quite brutally reduced by an out of control law enforcement agency led by Steve Lockjaw, the Sean Penn character in the film. They've gone to ground, they're living off the grid until Lockjaw thinks he's worked out a way to get back at them and disguise it as a drug and immigration enforcement operation. And that's what you need to know, I think, to understand like the back 2/3 of the movie, where it basically becomes a chase organized around that sort of triangle of Bob and Willa and Steve.
Yeah, that's very eloquently put. I was going to go a lot cruder and say that it's about the erection that launches 1,000 bullets. Because there is a psychosexual element to One Battle After Another that I was not expecting at all. One that I think Paul Thomas Anderson's only explored in a much more barbed way in something like Phantom Thread. That kind of sadomasochistic relationship built upon catch and release that is, quite good for his version of a romantic comedy in that other another of his masterpieces. But here it is about deep-seated fetish that one particular villain does not want to admit to or explore, lest it annihilate him. I mean, literally annihilate him. There is absolutely zero way that he is allowed to embrace his heart or his penis's desire without moving up the political, without moving up the political ladder.
Yes, we should point out, listeners, that to misquote the title of one of Anderson's previous films, there will be spoilers. We don't normally give this warning, but then we don't normally do podcasts on the free feed about films that are still on cinema release. So proceed at your risk. We will be talking about the full meaning of the film, and that means getting to grips with how it ends.
And begins, which is a spoiler in itself.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And what we're talking about here is that Stephen J. Lockjaw, white supremacist, military law enforcement official, wannabe member of an elite white supremacist club, does, in his own words, love black women. I love them.
It's a good impression. I was going to bust one out later as well, but you put me to the
We're still talking about the impressions, right? We're not still talking about the erection here.
Sure, Graham, sure, yeah.
Zip.
Yes, indeed. His member is the driving force of the film. And his relationship with the wonderful Teyana Taylor, who's one of the musical artists in the film, which is why it's a fantastic opportunity for Pop Screen to cover. Her character, Perfidia Beverly Hills, takes a special delight in humiliating him at the beginning of the film during an internment camp raid, in which 250 immigrants are set free, but also she effectively lights the fuse of a very dangerous but also very evil but also fairly three-dimensional villain. So I think
believable, threatening and stupid, which is a hard triangle to draw, but it works.
Yes, indeed. He's a very deep cartoon of a character.
Yes, that's good. Yeah.
And I think I think because of that, I think I've have a bit of an issue with really pinpointing who the protagonist of this movie is.
Yeah.
Because in effect, the protagonist, the lead, who will get all of the lead actor nominations, is nominally Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
But also, almost nothing in the film is motivated by anything that he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all about these two quite antagonistic forces at the beginning of the film. Although Perfidia is, fighting the good fight, as it were, in a fairly extreme way. She is the one who sort of unleashes the beast upon her comrades.
Why is everything you say
That
double
wasn't a euphemism there, Graham. We're moving on from that. But yeah, so it's a film definitely about the ball rolling from kind of another movie.
Yeah,
in
that
its
was
own way.
really exciting to me. The fact that the first sort of half hour of this movie really is like the compressed highlights of a totally different movie, something like, the Baader-Meinhof Complex or Olivier Assayas's Carlos, which tracks the rise and fall of this fictional. I think Anderson has confirmed they were inspired by the Weather Underground. There's a lot of groups you can see in them, but that's probably the big one. And that just gets absolutely bench pressed into this really sort of operatic opening section of the film. And
It's almost a montage.
It's
almost entirely a montage.
And you feel like you've really got your ticket prices worth before the title card comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think
a really bizarre title card drop as well. It happens just before the quote is actually said.
Yeah.
As well. But yes, graced also on the screen by the wonderful Alana Haim.
I love her so much.
In a
And I
very
love
brief
that
role.
she's basically just stumbled into being one of the most exciting new character actresses, just sort of by accident, and she's really great at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that issue of who the protagonist is, in one of the complaints that I've heard about this movie that I think is completely wrong, but I think there's like a reason why people think it, is that the characters don't go through enough change. And if that's like your yardstick of who a protagonist is, then the protagonist of the movie is Willa. No one goes through more change in the movie than Willa. And in a lot of ways, the whole chase sequence is about her moving from being the movie's MacGuffin to being its most active protagonist and participant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of screen time, she's definitely what you would get nominated for as a best supporting actress. But I think it's pretty clear from the from the marketing and at least the Oscar campaign that they're launching that she is going for best actress in a leading role.
Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting as well, because it is one of those movies where screen time is almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I would actually be quite intrigued to see how everybody's screen time sort of measures up. But yes, indeed, like she does emerge as the hero of the movie in what she does and how she kind of solves her own problem.
Yeah, definitely. That issue with the protagonist is you've read Vineland, right?
I started Vineland at the beginning of the year when I heard that it was going to be an adaptation of that, and I was enjoying it. And I think what I got from it was the same type of like slapstick, like matter of fact slapstick. I think I'd put it as, and then also like the snapshot of the moment because it's set in the early 80s, is it?
Yes,
yeah, yeah,
84.
84, yeah. And I think the sort of is it called Zoid Wheeler? Am I remembering that right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. His sort of his day-to-day existence of being able to claim for mental health benefits following a stunt that he does annually of throwing himself through a window in drag.
Yes.
That was just okay. Yes, this is the Thomas Pynchon I've heard so much about. But I never got beyond that, and it's because, frankly, I'm a very bad reader.
Right, fair.
So it is one of those, epic texts. Well, it's not that long, is it? I think it's just sort of epic in scope, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. It's
And
one of
I
those
think,
ones I will get round to eventually. But yeah.
yeah, this is one of the things that I knew Anderson had been interested in adapting this for a long time, because when he was promoting Inherent Vice, the last film he did, which is much more faithfully adapted from a Thomas Pynchon novel, he said that he had considered adapting Vineland, but it didn't work. And for a long time, I thought, well, that's the end of it. And when the rumours started circulating, I thought there was absolutely no way that Warner Brothers had given him $135 million to do an adaptation of Vineland, just reaching for any unmade project he's talked about. But I think one of the reasons perhaps why he hit the stumbling block with a faithful adaptation of Vineland is that Vineland sort of has no real protagonist. You're introduced to it through Zoid's eyes, and you do fall in love with Zoid. He's just a really lovable, embarrassing shambles of a man. And then there's this very long chapter in the middle where it kind of rearranges and resorts itself, and it rearranges it around a character who I guess is maybe closest to a sort of hybrid of the Alana Haim character and one of Willa's friends. It's not a character that has a direct parallel in the movie. And by the end of it, Zoid is kind of a walk-on character. Brock Vond, who is the novel's version of Steve Lockjaw, is very present, but more as a sort of a looming threat who's doing something in the mountains that no one knows about. And so, it's a great book, but when you talk about making it into a Leonardo DiCaprio movie and the expectations that go with something being a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, you're gonna have to pull it apart,
And
because
yet,
there is just not a star part in there.
and yet, I feel like from what you've described, from the essence of, well, at least from what I know about Zoid, and then Zoid also being like a kind of walk-on part,
Yeah,
that is almost they've kept that essence.
yeah. Essence is a good word. It preserves the sort of theory of Zoid or Bob being this kind of gone to seed guy who has to realise that he's not
Want a weed guy.
gone to weed guy. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. He gives up the ideal of being a revolutionary and has to realise he's in someone else's fight now. That's there, but it's there in a more sort of propulsive way, which allows DiCaprio to stay in the narrative right up until the very end. So yeah, I suppose what they do with Zoid in the book is quite similar to what happens to Perfidia here, which is that she's very present in the opening stretch. And I think her absence is even more felt, because it's like when Zoid goes away, Zoid is just this loser, really. He's got friends, he's got family, but nobody's thinking, I can't believe Zoid isn't here. He's normally in the thick of the action. Whereas taking Perfidia out, I think that very deliberately does leave you with a real sense of loss, that character who seems to be driving so much of the movie is gone now.
I think the restraint that he shows in not bringing her back at any point as well is really quite good, because she's only a kind of a voice in a letter by the very end.
Yes,
and there is change in that voice. There is regret, and there is maturity as a mother, even though she wasn't a mother for very long. Yeah, I think Teyana Taylor is an absolutely mesmerizing presence in this movie as well.
This was one of the big leaps of the second viewing from me. It went from me thinking, yeah, everyone's good in that. Sean Penn gets the flashiest role. Maybe he's the best. To watching it a second time and thinking, I genuinely think Teyana Taylor is giving the performance of the year in this. I think she's just phenomenal.
Yeah, she's absolutely fab. And yeah, the film kind of, I would say that the film misses her, but then also it is a different film once she leaves it.
And
I
it's
think
also kind of
that's
the
when,
point, right? I
yeah,
think,
yes,
yeah.
it adopts a much more wacky tone once that
Mm,
kind of like elegiac opening is sort of wrapped up, and then you've got that amazing time jump, which doesn't even feel the need to like cut to black, or
yeah.
it just it's such an economical cut that tells you everything that you need to know.
Mm,
There's nothing downbeat about it particularly either. I think the narration is, and in 16 years, not much has changed, but
yeah.
uh,
Yes, it is.
a
Yeah.
lot has changed, and another character has come in who is capable, who is
Mm.
motivated, who is powerful, and yeah, the first time we see Chase Infinity's face, that's when I teared up a little.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's not even a conventional kind of emotional moment. It's just like, oh, and now we're into something else, which is just as if not more beautiful, you know.
And that kind of backs up the theory that she's the closest thing to a protagonist. If,
Hmm.
as we say, the opening to the movie is like the highlights of a different movie,
Hmm.
one battle after another, the film that we'll watch for the remaining 2 hours or so starts with that big close up of Chase Infinity's face. And, of course she leads it because with that name, she is a Thomas Pynchon character in real
Yeah.
life.
That's why I was getting a little bit confused, because I was just like, wait a minute, is that's not a character? That's actually her name. Interesting.
Yes.
Wow. And it's not even a stage name either. That is
No.
literally it.
Yeah, yeah. No,
God,
it's
imagine being
incredible.
that cool. What gives her the right? Yeah.
Some people just have their movie star name from birth, and yeah, she's absolutely fabulous. I remember when this was in production, there was a lot of talk going around about, like, a lot of the PTA fans on the internet had found a casting notice that was like, we are looking for a biracial American girl with a playing age of 16 who can do martial arts, and thinking, this is very specific. What's he doing here? We should be able to work
He
it
has a
out from
vision.
this.
Yeah, I think she's got a very promising career ahead of her. Has she been cast in anything yet? It feels like the sort of thing where she should have been attached to something in the couple of months it's been since release. But
I think if she hasn't, it is out of choice. It would be very wise to not jump into anything else. But apparently, she is doing something called the Julia set with Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs.
I'm just
I
looking at that now. And Nina Huss.
Yeah, and that's a film, not a series. So yeah, that's so I'm just looking on her Wikipedia page, and it contains the extraordinary phrase, showrunner Bruce Miller cast her after seeing her performance in Presumed Innocent and her K-pop dance covers, citing her versatility. That is quite versatile, really, isn't it?
It is. It
Yeah,
is incredible. She's also been cast in The Testament, the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale.
that was what the K-pop dance covers got her into. Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
because
we all know, Margaret Atwood, author of K-pop Demon Hunters.
God, I would read the hell out of Margaret Atwood's K-pop Demon Hunters. Yes,
We can only
but
wish.
yeah, yeah, she is very good, and of course, her martial arts leads us into the lead character who we haven't talked about yet, which is Benicio del Toro as Sensei Sergai, who is, I mean, it's Benicio del Toro. It feels almost redundant to say this because he's reliably brilliant, but I absolutely love Sensei Sergei.
I was not prepared by
No.
for just how much that character has had an effect on me. The most coolly active man who
Yes.
regularly gets drunk while driving, has a little pot belly to go with it, but is cool as hell, cool-headed. And I'm not just talking about like a demeanor. I mean, just like getting on with the task at hand, acknowledging that it is a sort of Latino Harriet Tubman situation that he has going on right now, which should not be taken lightly.
No.
The moving of hundreds of immigrants to a safe spot away from the pent-up ball of aggression that is Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw.
Yes.
And then when he returns to the film after a 15-minute little stint in jail, pure joy,
Yeah.
pure joy. Don't we just want somebody to come and rescue us, take a selfie with us, crack open the Modelo's, a few small beers, and then get on the road? And man, what
It's
a guy,
funny.
what a man.
Yeah, and I remember when the first trailer came out, and it ends with that beat of
No,
oh
I was
yeah,
just
yeah.
I was doing the fist in the air of like,
Sorry,
yeah,
it's
man,
cut
let's
off
go.
slightly. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for describing that for our listeners, though. That's useful.
Yes.
But yeah, and all he says to Bob is just "courage, Bob, courage." And
Ocean wave smile.
my assumption was that this is going to be kind of a joke character, that he just says quite banal things and it has this remarkable effect on everyone. And the wonder of the film is that it has you taking him quite seriously. Like from the start, he's capable. By the time he's broken Bob out of the hospital with like the secret network of sleeper agents who were embedded in the hospital, you just think, holy shit, this guy can do anything.
And it made me feel very happy that even though the French 75 is in absolute tatters and it's run by people who are at once, very efficient but also officious,
Yeah.
it really made me happy that there is another revolution that is trundling on in the background, that will survive, that will continue. And even though Sensei Sergio does get done for a DUI at the end of the film, I have absolute faith that he's going to get off. He's
He
going to
seems to
sweep
have
up that
quite a lot of
judge.
faith in that. Yeah.
He's going to be absolutely fine. I've heard a couple of complaints that like we don't catch up with him in the epilogue of the movie, but I don't think we need to. I think
Well,
the smirk and the admission that he's had a few small beers is enough.
do you think that scene is Paul Thomas Anderson's version of the scene in With Neil and I, where Richard E. Grant says that he's only had a few light ales?
I guess so. You know what? I've never seen With Neil and I. One of my
Oh.
massive blind spots. Should remedy that, but yes, perhaps. Yeah. Would you be surprised if he was a fan of With Neil and I?
Not at all. And I
Yeah.
think particularly in this movie, it is a kind of, not just because Vineland is set in this time, but it is his modern day take on kind of culty, punky 80s cult things. He was talking a lot about Repo Man in the run up to the film's release, and this is definitely the only big budget studio movie of the year that's influenced by Repo Man. But you can see it. You can see that in it.
Yes, you can. You can indeed. I feel like we're sort of pulling off in many different tangents here, but like, yeah, the
pull harder.
Benicio, I would be. It's not going to happen, but if Benicio won over Sean Penn, that would make my year. That would make 2026 best. But yes, it was just one of those characters that is wonderful to me. I haven't felt that way about like a character being like cool since I was a teenager. You know what I mean? I think kind of reaching this like nearing 30 and being like, it's all kind of okay to be a fuck up, but like also sort of keep going and I just think he embodies so much that is good, but also he's kind of sloth in a way. He's kind of that son of sloth, but also there's something so purely good about him that I can't fault him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, there is room here to do a sort of 3 ages of man thing, isn't there? That when you're young, you see Benicio del Toro in like The Usual Suspects or Traffic or something. You think, wow, that guy's really cool. And then as you get towards middle age, you see him in one battle after another and go, that guy's really cool. And then when he's 80, he'll be doing something that impresses me just as much then, I'm sure.
Jeez, I can't wait.
Yeah. But yeah, that thing that you were saying about how Sensei is the guy who has like the energy to keep the revolution going. I think if you had to reduce the movie's message and the movie's politics down to like a statement, I mean, first, don't. I think it is a work of art. It is a narrative work of art, and it is a long narrative work of art. It's it wants to get into the complications, and that's why I could never jive with that idea that the characters don't go through enough change, because I think part of what I love about Anderson's writing and his direction of actors is that he gives you that complexity in the moment. When you see Perfidia confronting Lockjaw at the start, she's threatening him and she's doing it well, but there's also a little tremor in her voice. She's human. She's not sure she's going to get out of this situation. That's the complexity, rather than, well, I started as one thing and now I've done a complete 180-degree turn, that kind of rote screenwriting. And I think ultimately the message is that no one is that one person. You can't predict who's going to fold. You can't predict who's going to lose the fight. There's that lovely bit where we get out to the nunnery, the Sisters of the Brave Beaver, and you think they're going to be your saviors. They're not just revolutionaries, they're women of faith. They must have a strong commitment. They must not be tied by earthly goals. And then when Deandra, the Regina Hall character, is talking to the Mother Superior, she just goes, I'm so tired. And you think, all right, this isn't the savior thing. Everyone plays a little part in it, and everyone has a little flaw. And it's just about keeping that process going, rather than, again, anyone being the main character.
I think it also boils down to the the flaws of the heroes, but also the blind spots of the villains in a lot of ways, because you've got the Christmas adventurers on one hand, which are the carrot that's being dangled in front of Lockjaw to join this club of feeble old white men who embodied fantastically in that tiny cameo role from Kevin Tyghe, who I know as John Locke's fraud father in Lost, who is again another kind of very weak, loathsome character. But yes, so they're very thorough background research of the person that they're going to enter the club with, and then they're bringing in bounty hunters to solve the problem, but then also just the self-destructive circle that kind of like wreaks because of the occasional personal grievance. And then also something as stupid as Lockjaw actually deciding to wind down his window when a muscle car approaches him on the road just after he's fulfilled his goal of getting rid of Will.
But this is like,
they're all so dumb.
Yeah, And when I talk about mechanical writing, part of what I hate is like this cinema sins attitude where if the characters aren't doing something that is
Yes.
maximally focused on their goals and contains no stupidity whatsoever, if that isn't fulfilled, then it's bad writing. And I just want to sit these guys down in front of a classic film noir just to hear them go, if he knows the dame's trouble, then why does he go back to her? Bad writing there, Raymond Chandler. And
Like, have you ever had a feeling before? How about that? Yeah.
have you met a human? Have you read a book that isn't by Ayn Rand? But yeah, the beautiful capper on this is that by the end, Lockjaw is in an incredible position to win. He has survived the assassination attempt. You know, he has, as far as he thinks, solved the problem of Willa. And the only thing he can do with this unbelievable stroke of luck is to go back to them.
Yeah, I know.
And
Well,
tell
yeah,
them
that's
to reconsider my application. And I love that.
He just wanted a receipt from his email. That's all he wanted. He just wanted a receipt for his email. Sorry. Did you actually get my application? I know it might seem like I missed the deadline, but I'm still interested.
But I love that it's that rather than any of the action stuff that kills him. You know, rather than him going down in a blaze of glory, which you suspect he wants on some level, even if he doesn't want it this way, he gets killed by just his dogged inability to imagine anything better than this for himself.
A really terrible office building as well.
It's so shit.
Literally a suffocating office building. So, yeah. Just the way that Jim Downey also says, well, you know, this is a place where you can come and hang your hat. And it's just like, oh, wonderful. I can come to this, you know, San Bernardino Valley little shithole and just be like, oh, yeah, this is great. I can reply to some emails here.
It's straight
I can squeeze my stress ball.
Yes. Straight after that, you've got like what is deliberately the one bad line reading in the movie where he goes, "Oh, I forgot my key. I'll just go and get that."
Yeah, I think in retrospect as well, I didn't realize that was the Jim Downey of the Jeff Epstein, the New York financier. Huh? No. Nice try. I didn't realize that was him.
I didn't.
Yeah, so that's him. And also, if anybody is watching The Chair Company right now on HBO, he is playing a really sweet character who is just kind of like the guy in the office who probably should be retired, but still wants to seem, you know, kind of cool and then to bring in some life to the office. He carries a little bubble wand around his neck and just starts blowing bubbles in the middle of meetings. So he's having a hell of a back half of 2025. Yeah, great bit of casting right there.
As is always the case with Anderson's movies, there's some real gold in the tiny supporting roles and some really diverse gold as well. He is very good at picking up people who maybe don't act as a main career or who maybe don't act at all and throwing them in with, you know, the DiCaprios and Penns and Day-Lewises of this world and making that work. I mean, the guy, there's several other musicians in here that we haven't touched on. Howard Somerville, the guy with the CB radio, is played by Paul Grimstad, who does soundtracks for a lot of New York indie films, Safdie Brothers stuff, things like that. Talleyrand, who takes over the phone call from the one really unbearable guy that DiCaprio phones.
Comrade Josh. Ugh.
Comrade Josh. A fucking stupid name for a revolutionary. He's played by Dion Duenas, producer and songwriter who's worked with Brockhampton, Charlie XCX, released his new album Baby this year. The big one for me, the one that I was delighted about, was right at the start of the movie where Jungle Pussy, the French 75 member, is played by Jungle Pussy, the indie hip-hop artist.
Kind of a, once I found that out, I was like, oh, is Paul Thomas Anderson pulling a chappie here? Is he casting a rapper as themselves in a dystopian future world? But a lot more elegantly.
Yeah, I definitely saw Chappie as the one battle after another of 2015. I think it's cyclical. In
They come around every 10
2035,
years. Yes.
yeah, we'll get another one.
Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah, I have really enjoyed the Jungle Pussy stuff. I heard, I think it was maybe In the Stars that she'd be in a big 70s style kind of shaggy new Hollywood epic, because my favourite song of hers, Arugula, opens with the line, "My love's long like a tangerine dream" song.
Oh,
So
beautiful.
yeah. She also donates the line, the unrepeatable line that Perfidia leaves for Lockjaw when she runs off from
Right.
witness
That's
protection.
canonically one of her songs, is it?
That's one of her songs, yeah.
Incredible. Right. So maybe Perfidia heard that on
Maybe.
the playlist that a friend had made and was like, I'm gonna leave that behind as a little stinger. I like that.
Away.
Yeah. I'll keep that for a rainy day.
Yes, so there's some really good stuff in here. Outside of music, the funniest supporting appearances are the Sisters of the Brave Beaver, where apart from April Grace, who plays the Mother Superior of the convent and who also played the interviewer in Magnolia.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that when I saw it, but yeah.
Uh-huh. I've watched Magnolia very recently as well, so yeah, that has just flicked a switch in my head. Wow.
Yeah. But again, a lot of the other people in that scene are played by real cannabis-growing nuns.
Never.
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay. Right, you're not joking there.
No, I'm not joking.
Sorry, you just framed that as like a kind of no, but really interesting.
There is an institution called Sisters of the Valley, which is the most Paul Thomas Anderson name for a religious group, who have sort of. They are in the tradition of a group called the Beguines, who were apparently 14th century heretics, so quite a long way outside of the church's remit.
You don't say.
But yeah, they are nuns who grow and sell CBD oil.
Interesting. Right. I mean, that's the spin-off right there.
Yeah.
Hey, if we're talking about sequels or anything, that is Willa and the Sisters of the Valley
Definitely.
teaming up. That's it. Once they all get out of prison, that is.
Yeah, that could take a bit. Yeah.
So, how many musicians are in this film? Total?
I'm counting 5. I'm counting
5.
Dion Duenas, Paul Grimstead, Alana Haim, Teyana Taylor, and Shayna McHale. Perhaps there are others who I haven't noticed, but that's a pretty heavy outlay for any one film, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. I mean, Sean Penn feels like the kind of guy who must have had some sort of music. Like, he must have been in a band at some point.
You can picture him having a sort of blues rock side project, can't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can. And didn't he used to be married to Madonna? Was there nothing there where he
as far as I can
backing
aware,
vocals?
he did not hop on for like a guest rap or on anything she put out, sadly.
Man, damn shame.
Yeah. But yeah. No,
That's mad.
Teyana Taylor's kind of an interesting one to talk about, because she started off as a musician and she was like solely a musician for a very long time. About sort of 3 or 4 years ago, she said she was giving up music, which she hasn't stuck to. She Soderberghed it. She released a new album this year. But it does feel like this is coming at a sort of pivot, at an inflection point in what looks like it's going to be a full-time move towards acting from her.
Mm-hmm. It's a funny one because I saw her on one of those little banners that
Mm.
appear on websites, and she's a supporting character in the new Ryan Murphy Disney Plus series starring
Yes.
Kim Kardashian, which is called All's Fair, and has just received a rare 0-star review from the
The
Guardian.
Guardian.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm
And
almost tempted to watch that.
0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is
Incredible.
quite an achievement when you consider how low the standards of most TV reviewers actually are.
Yeah, especially Ryan
Yeah.
Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wonder if, like, maybe we're getting this all wrong. Maybe on set for one battle after another, Benicio del Toro and Sean Penn were all crowded around and going, what's it like to work with Kim Kardashian? That must be such a privilege.
Well, work's work.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm sure she'll bounce back.
Oh,
It
yeah.
seems that Kardashian and is it Glenn Close, Naomi
Glenn
Watts?
Close. Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like they are probably going to take most of the flack from this.
I
She'll
suppose
still get
that's
a
kind of
nomination. We'll be all
that's
right.
probably like the comfort, isn't it, of being in a Kim Kardashian series, is that you think if this goes wrong, they're probably not going to blame it on me.
You got a nice human shield.
Yes. She also has a very strange sort of connection with a very old episode we did in our first year. She is the second artist we've covered after PJ Harvey, who has played Mary Magdalene in a film.
No way.
Yeah,
What film is that?
that was the
Wait,
Book of
Book of Clarence.
Book
Yes,
of Clarence.
Book of Clarence.
Yes.
Yes, sorry, I had that in my head.
So it
Right.
got me thinking we could
Mhm.
put together a pretty good pop screen New Testament at this point,
Oh
right?
my god! Yeah,
Either
absolutely.
Harvey or Taylor as Mary Magdalene, F.K. Twigs as the Virgin Mary, David
Yeah.
Bowie as Pontius Pilate.
Oh my god. Avengers Assemble. Am I right?
Yeah. This is the most ambitious team up in movie history. And we've all but shit posted it here.
Hey, watch the space. Things have to start somewhere.
There's a couple of things I want to talk about that I think are sort of broader areas to get into. And the first one is we both mentioned that we liked it more on second viewing, but I wonder, like, was there anything that really changed for you on second viewing?
Oh, good question. I think maybe just getting familiar with the mechanics of the plot, because I think the first time you watch it, you're kind of dazzled just by how fast it's moving all the time.
Yeah.
And I think when you take a bit of a step back and you look at the actual construct of it, and then you start noticing things like the fact that DiCaprio and Penn only share one scene together, and it's at the very start, and it's kind of like it doesn't really have much impact on the plot at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then also just the machinations of the Christmas Adventurers plot, and then Lockjaw's plot, which are completely unrelated as well. They just happen to
Yes.
sort of like oscillate around one another until they collide.
Yeah.
And I think one of the pleasures of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies is that upon rewatch you do get to enjoy the smaller roles. Like I'm thinking about somebody in Phantom Thread as well. I think it's the character of Biddy, who like has no real impact on the plot at all, but she comes into Leslie Manville's office and she's just like, "But Mr. Woodcock has fallen over on the dress, madam." I'm sorry, who's fallen over? Mr. Woodcock. He's fallen over on the dress. And there are like numerous characters in one battle after another that like scratch that same itch for me as well. And it's mostly in that sequence in the middle as well, like the lead skateboarding
Yes.
guy. He just absolutely killed me this time. Right? He's like, "It's World War III, man. Let's go."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic, and I don't think it's my absolute favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film because like
No.
he might be my like modern greatest of all time. the living goat for me.
Yeah.
Since we've just lost Lynch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that like kind of really made me happy that I will return to this movie, and I will continue to notice tiny things in the background, and it is those characters, those actors as well that are excited to be here, and he does get great performances out of like very very small characters.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
completely agree with all that. I
Uh-huh.
think if I'm thinking of the right person, that woman in Phantom Thread is like, again, a real sort of dressmaker from that period who Anderson had hired to get a bit of background research and eventually thought,
Yes.
well, no one's going to do this better, are they?
Yeah, I remember looking up her IMDb afterwards and just going like, oh, this is like literally it. She
Yeah,
hasn't had any bit parts on Corrie. She is just genuinely street casting in a way.
yeah,
Savile Row casting.
that's good. Yes.
Hmm.
For me, I think the thing that shifted the most, and I guess which takes us into the other area I want to talk about, is that my whole read on Perfidia as a character changed. And I think it's the first time in ages where I've had that happen with a movie. That part of what I think makes this movie so great is that normally if I rewatch a movie, the best I get out of it is like, that's as good as it was last time. It's rare that you have something with the sort of depth and complexity where you can have two different takes on a character. Because I think when you see Perfidia for the first time, it's like what you were saying about, the pace and the spectacle of the film being kind of overwhelming. Perfidia is kind of the embodiment of that. She is so fast and so wild and so out of control, and that's what you notice about her. And this time I was just thinking about how much of what she's doing is coming out of fear and trauma and bravado, and I wanted to talk about this because, like, obviously, we are probably not the best people to get into the racial politics of one battle after another, I think. But I'm going to shout out like four people, two on either side, who've had different takes on this, and I'm going to say what makes them different and why I came to my conclusion. But on the sort of anti-side, FD Signifier made a good video about this. Ellen E. Jones wrote a good article in The Guardian. On the pro side, really good podcasts I heard from Fantastic Frankie and Crazy Stupid Podcast, analysing this, from a black perspective. But one thing I noticed is, like, for the people who disliked the film's racial politics, the character of Perfidia is their line of attack, and they see Perfidia as like Paul Thomas Anderson being unable to like mute a certain stereotype that they think he has of black women, of them being sexually aggressive, of them being kind of unreliable and Jezebelish. And I think the most eye-opening thing, and the thing that came through to me on the second watch of the film, is that Fantastic Frankie and the hosts of Crazy Stupid Podcast both termed Perfidia's treatment by Lockjaw as sexual assault, which it is. I mean, when you rewatch it, even before she does the get up thing with the gun, he's like licking his lips and sucking his teeth at her. He's not intimidated by her pointing a gun at him. He is sexually harassing her. Even after this moment, and even after she's turned the tables and sexually humiliated him, the level of institutional power he has still means that this qualifies as rape. He's basically saying, have sex with me or I'll bring down the full force of a militarized police squad on you and your friends. And I think once you see that as like the cornerstone of her character, like, she's not crazy, she's not wild, she's trying to work through some serious trauma, and she's trying to find a way of leaving behind a life that is really killing her and has done some very bad things to her without abandoning her revolutionary commitment. I mean, that's a fucking heavy stuff to play, and I think it's incredible what Teyana Taylor does with it, because as is often the case with Anderson, I think it's there in the script, but no one sits down and says, look, I haven't felt right ever since we made that raid on blah blah blah. The actors have to get it through with their faces, with the way they carry themselves. And I think if we're talking about what makes him the greatest living director, certainly I would say the greatest living American director, there's no competition there. For me, that's a big part of it.
I think that's an incredible read, actually, and it does say so much about Penn's performance as well, because when you see Sean Penn talking in interviews at the moment, he's always at like a kind of 45-degree angle, and he's always like kind of having to pick up a microphone and just be like, well, so with the character of Lockjaw, it's just the whole how every single movement is like a kind of pent up, something to hold the power in the room, whether that is sucking his teeth or licking his lips, or just like spitting out like almost like kind of tick like phrases like daddy daughter games, is that what we're playing?
I am a Christmas adventurer.
I am a superior man. Just all that sort of thing. I think even though he is like sort of physically on the back foot in that opening scene, reframing that as harassment or assault is quite a powerful read. And not inaccurate. I'm actually quite inclined to agree. So I know I was talking initially about them being like two antagonistic forces, but I think it is that sort of steady escalation of one person not wanting to fully submit to the other, even though there is like an element of physical submission to their encounter in the motel.
Oh yeah, this is definitely, I think, the biggest budget film in which it's strongly implied Sean Penn has a gun pushed up his ass.
Well, yes, I mean there are other films, I'm sure.
We haven't seen the next Avengers movie yet. It could be beaten, but
there might be something else in Casualties of War that we never that we never got into. Definitely, agreed with you there, Graham, as well.
Yes.
So no, that performance, it's so locked in. It's lockjawed in. And I think I would be, I was talking about Benicio del Toro earlier, but I would be extremely happy if he won for Best Supporting Actor, because it's an incredibly unflattering performance, but it's also completely, different to how he carries himself in real life.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to call him adult nowadays. He's really quite weathered by life and probably other things. But to get something that precise, that poised, and it's down to like that's the benefit of VistaVision as well, just being able to see his like forehead vein twitch, or like the corner of his mouth just ever so slightly shift when they ask him if he's ever had an interracial relationship. No, sir. It's just some really, really precise stuff.
And I think that's what you always get with Anderson. I remember when I was tracking the progress of The Master, which, went through about 2 studios and a few casting changes. And that was quite fun to follow, because there were all these, again, as with this one, all these rumors coming out about it that couldn't possibly be true. There's no way that Paul Thomas Anderson's making a film based on the early life of L. Ron Hubbard. That can't happen. But one of the things people were talking about there was, he's shooting it in 70mm, and this is this format that was used for, Lawrence of Arabia, How the West Was Won, coming off the back of There Will Be Blood. You think, oh, this is going to be There Will Be Blood squared, but the thing that he's using that format for in The Master is to look at the landscape of a face to really get the most out of every micro expression in his actors' faces, and it happens again with his use of VistaVision here.
It absolutely does. I think I would have loved to have seen it actually on a textured film print, because there is so much texture to the sweat and the dirt and everything. But alas, we don't really have that capability outside of London in the UK. So,
No.
or do we?
Not as far as
Am
I
I just
know.
being a bit a northerner? Yeah.
I've obviously the Tyneside does 35mm
Does do
screenings.
35, yes.
I don't believe that the Gateshead IMAX is equipped with IMAX film projection facilities.
It is not. That's where I saw it.
Wrong. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, it's good enough. It's good enough for me. I think the
yeah.
only film I've ever seen in true IMAX was Black Panther up in Edinburgh. And I had a few small beers beforehand, and I was in row B, and I genuinely could not watch the film. having to turn my head to look at a pure old shot reverse shot. I was nearly gone. So all the way back to row Q or whatever it was.
Yes.
So, but I was going to go for that. Yeah,
maybe nowhere, but that's good. That's a good anecdote.
It is. It's a really nice anecdote. No, but I think the visual texture of the film, it does demand to be watched on the big screen in as much clarity as possible.
I agree. I mean, I think the film will work on a small screen, but I'm going to rewatch it, and a part of me will be thinking, oh man, losing something here. That, as you mentioned, those dips in the car chase at the end, where it's such a cliche to say that any big action movie is like a roller coaster ride, but this is the only film I've seen. Yeah, it's literally like being on a roller coaster.
Yeah, I was driving around Northumberland last weekend, and there was a little dip in the hill, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to get Johnny Greenwood going right now.
Yes. I mean, I've been driving a lot for work reasons this last year to Scarborough and back, and that's got some very, very dippy hills. And the last time I drove there, it had a whole new resonance that it has never had before. Yeah.
Speaking of Johnny Greenwood,
we haven't talked about him, have we?
We haven't. No. I think what amazed me was that he was genuinely playing that Ocean Waves track for 20 minutes during the raid sequence, and it never gets boring or monotonous.
Yeah,
and it is kind of that Doppler effect where it sounds like it's getting more intense, but actually it's just the same thing again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
And just how it ties those. I mean, I think there's probably 3 separate plots happening during that stretch. But how he sort of keeps the same sort of tempo going in between them, it blew my mind. I mean, I think that is my favorite stretch of the film, the escape from Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I think probably. I don't know if I.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a solid thing, but I think each act of the film is sort of based around a big thing, isn't it? The rise and fall of French 75, the attempt to to stay on hold for long enough to rescue Willa, and then the car chase at the end, and they're all so great. I can't pick between those as set pieces. Did you notice what the French 75's hold music was, by the way?
No.
It's "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised"
by
Gil Scott
Heron. Yes. Yes, I knew that was involved in the film somehow, but I don't believe I've actually ever heard it. So, yeah, but that's what a way to be like, oh yeah, this is who we are. So 2-factor authentication means absolutely zilch because we are announcing ourselves as
Yes.
revolutionaries. And then also, aren't the lyrics of that the code words that they
Green
say to
acres,
one another at the road at the end?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Okay, so, oh god, fucking Comrade Josh. Who cares?
The movie's
Mexican
real
hairless is the
villain.
password.
Yeah.
That's what you really need to know. The sexual preferences of your friends is the real password.
Yeah, that can replace the real friends we made along the way as a sort of cliche we can go back to time and time again, can't we?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yes, the two-factor authentication part of the movie. Actually, possibly my one complaint with the film
Yeah.
is Comrade Josh
Mm.
uh, for his comment on noise triggers, which I didn't feel was like a particularly true thing for a man of his age to be levying at a man also of a similar age at the
I
other end of the
don't
phone.
know whether is that the joke? Do you think that he's meant to be some like sort of fragile millennial or Gen Z kid, and then it cuts to him with this big grey beard? Is that the joke? But I don't think it quite works because he sounds older. So yeah,
Yes, exactly. I always thought that he was like a kind of uppity middle manager guy.
yeah.
Yeah, but I
It's
don't know. It moves on from that quickly enough
yeah.
that I was like, I don't particularly care about that very sort of daddish writing.
And
You
it
know?
has one of the better bits of like observation of what modern politics and how particularly American politics has shifted, where DiCaprio's go-to insult for him is liberal. Like when he's
Yeah.
screaming him out in front of fucking liberal. For some of us who can remember the George W. Bush years when like any opinion on the polls between, Joe Lieberman and Chairman Mao was called liberal. That is a very funny moment and really does hammer home how much things have changed.
Yeah, and it makes you think about his politics as what Bob's politics,
Yeah.
because I think he's sort of clinging on to an idea of a revolution that he was wanting to be a part of, but was
Hmm.
never especially successful at.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of epitomized by the fact that his go-to like spark up movie is the Battle of Algiers,
Yes.
uh, and the his lack of grasp on gender politics with
Yes.
Willa's trans friend as well.
Mhm.
I found very interesting. Um, but I think also the thing that really sort of endears me about Bob is that he does take on things that are kind of, it could be viewed as cultural appropriation,
Mm.
adopting the name of Ghetto Pat and
Yeah.
constantly calling everybody homie.
He
But then
the way
also,
that the way that
yeah,
DiCaprio shouts "fuck the police,"
police,
specifically
yeah,
pronouncing it
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yes, yes, a brave move. And but then ultimately, he is prepared to and keen to make an effort with
Yes,
people of a different culture.
100%.
None more
Yeah.
so than automatically talking to two people on the side of the road that he doesn't know are Spanish, but or Mexican, or but Spanish speaking.
Mm.
And then he just sort of launches into like quite accurate phrasing of just like there was a bad man
Yeah.
in a black truck, went up that way. Did he go this way or that way? And it's but the fact that he can remember all of these phrases and everything, but he can't remember the stupid fucking password to uh, you know to the two-factor authentication. I think that's a
I
really
fried
sort of
my
nice thing.
brain.
I am a drugs and alcohol lover.
He's so funny in those
He's
scenes.
so
It's
good.
great.
But yes, I just thought like his wanting to make an effort in a lot of departments is
Yeah.
something that is kind of good about that character. like
And
not just
ties,
like enjoyable, but like as a positive thing.
yeah, and ties back into like that idea of the film's attitude being that, look, nobody's perfect, no one's going to fix everything,
Hmm.
but we all just keep pushing along, and we all just keep fighting these little battles and trying to learn and trying to be better, and
Hmm.
that's all you can do. But yeah, I think the funniest thing about the stuff with Will as friends for me is just imagining it from their perspective, and they must think he's really right wing.
Yeah, I know exactly.
He's the survivalist out in the woods, doesn't let her have a phone, like practically
We're talking
frisks
about
them.
freedom.
Yeah, we're talking about freedom, honey, freedom. Yeah,
Which does not have to be a right wing thing.
of course. But, when somebody is barking it at me from their woodlands compound,
Yes,
my
indeed.
mind sort of fills in the blanks. Yeah. So, is there anything? I mean, there's hundreds of things we can talk about. Is there anything particularly burning in your mind before we wrap it up?
I think I'm.
You've
I
gone
think
through
I'm
the
so
last battle.
energetically kind of engaged with like talking about the tangents that this movie kind of
Yeah.
takes you on. But I think one thing I would like to acknowledge as well is I love the moment where one of the white supremacists is genuinely upset that there will be a chicken nugget shortage because of Steve Lockjaw's actions. It's just the fact that like Paul Thomas Anderson does make time for these sort of like kind of unnecessary little gags
Yeah,
as it chugs along. That's what make his film so roomy and nice to me. Is
100%.
yeah. But give me another watch of it, and then I'll come back and do a sequel podcast.
Yes, one podcast after another.
Indeed.
Well, listeners, if you want more from this show, you can donate to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Geek Show. We're having a bit of a change around on there at the moment. A few of our regular series, including My X-Files reviews, have just ended. So we're having some brainstorming about what to go into 2026 with. We've got some promising leads, but there's still a massive archive of podcasts and articles about all sorts of things there that you can dive into. As for me, my film Song of the Suburbs is currently moving around the UK. I will be doing Q&A events with John Grindrod at a venue in Manchester that I've stupidly just forgotten the name of. 1 second. This is not good. Fucking amateur hour here. Where's my recent?
Are you a drugs and alcohol lover, Graham?
I've fried my brain. Okay, and yeah, it's Manchester Modernist Society on December the 12th. No, that's a Friday. Fucking hell, I'm useless. 1 second, I'm going to actually get the email up.
Very exciting. Almost as exciting as being in the front seat of a car going up and down multiple hills in California.
This is guaranteed to be cut. I cannot think of anything that's going to be cut more from this. Yeah, no. Manchester Modernist Society on the 10th of December. I'll be doing that Q&A with John Grindrod about the history of the suburbs and my short film about it. Simon, do you want to mention anything that you've got going or anywhere that people can find you online before we wind up?
Probably just the stuff over at the Geek Show. I've got a few screeners coming in for that. I have a review of a Sonny Chiba film, Shogun Samurai, coming up at Eastern Kicks. I have an article in Film Stories. I don't know if it's in the I Swear issue, but it might be in the one after. What else? Goodness. I've been trying to get some stuff off the ground, but let's just actually see if that happens before I say anything. So yeah, But you can follow me on Letterboxd, Simon Ramshaw. Same on Instagram, same on Blue Sky, same on X. Be nice to see you over there.
Listeners, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. I don't know if it's the next one or sometime later in December, but we are definitely going to do Magical Mystery Tour with Matt Cunliffe in memory of the time when it ruined a nation's Boxing Day that one year. That's our Christmas one this year. But whatever we do, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time on this feed with another episode of Pop Screen. I've been Graham.
I've been Simon.
And we'll see you in a fortnight's time.
See you later, homies.